It's been 48 hours since Illinois lost to Michigan State. They got a game tomorrow against Wisconsin, so we're going to preview that. But of course, we got a lot to discuss about this loss on Saturday. Great game, unfortunate result. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. Let's go. This is From Beyond Champaign, episode 18, season 3. I'm Cody. Follow me on Twitter at Cody_Illini. Got some new followers over the last week over on the Twitter account. Appreciate the new followers. Hope you've come over to the YouTube channel to check me out, I suppose. A lot of awesome and unfortunate news, Illini news over the last week, so that probably plays a part. But let's start with a little, news and notes, a little good news before I get into the loss against Michigan State. Number one, shout out to Devon Witherspoon, Illini legend, and now Super Bowl champion. It was awesome to see his interview, sideline interview, almost immediately after the game ended last night. I had no dog in the fight. Most of us probably didn't care who won that game. I'm assuming a large majority of us are either Bears or Packers, or maybe did Rams fans go to the Chiefs? I don't know. But we're here in the Midwest. None of us care about the Pats or the Seahawks. So we want to talk about individual players. Devon Witherspoon was awesome to see have success in the Super Bowl and, be a big part of their win, especially because their defense was elite last night. That's one. Number two, I don't know if anyone's noticed, but Will Riley is starting to emerge for the Wizards. I think he is creating new career highs over the last handful of games. I think he had a 27-point game recently. The Wizards traded a bunch of guys at the deadline, and that has kind of opened some run for him. I think that's how it's going. Obviously, I'm not watching the Wizards every day, but I am following Will Riley's box scores, and I love to see him have success. And as we all know, he wasn't a lottery pick, but we all knew that he had a high ceiling, and we thought that he'd probably go to the G League in year one. And he did for a little bit, but has now been given an opportunity, and I think he has excelled so far. So I love seeing Will Riley have success. Kasparis Giakoušionis he's kind of up and down. He started a couple games for the Heat when they came to Chicago. Or played Chicago like 3 straight games a week ago. I think he had a 22-point game recently, which is cool. So fun to see former Illini having success in the NBA. And I'm still waiting. For Terrence Shannon Jr. to finally show us what he is at the NBA level. I'm still a believer. I think it's more on the Timberwolves for just not playing him. I know this year he's had some injuries, which is unfortunate, but it is cool to see him and Ayo Dosunmu on the same team. Not only because I live in Chicago, but also because they are former Illini. So I think that's really cool. And Ayo now in Minnesota playing with him. Once we get them both on the court together, that will be a cool moment. But yeah, that's just a little quick news and notes before we get really rolling here on the show. Wanted to bring those things up because if I did it at the end of the show, I probably would have forgot about it because I'm so locked in on the current team and everything. I wanted to get it out of the way now. So shout out to all those guys I just mentioned. It's very, very cool to see former Illinois athletes excel at the professional level because, I mean, outside of Darren Williams from the basketball side, I mean, Myers Leonard had a couple good seasons in the NBA. But like, even D Brown didn't have a good NBA career, you know what I mean? Like, Luther Head, I guess, had a fine NBA career, probably an average NBA career. And I'm talking more so in my life. I know Kendall Gill had a good NBA career, but if I'm 34, so we're talking since the early to mid 2000s to now, it's cool to see on a consistent basis Illinois has kind of turned into an NBA factory. And you can look at that on a good side of the spectrum and also a negative. You don't want them to just become an NBA factory and the team not live up to expectations at the same time. Maybe you could make that argument last year with Riley and Jack Ashonis. I don't think so. I think that team probably lived up to what its decent expectations were. Maybe not. I know that we all have a standard of Sweet 16 or bust every year. I certainly do, at least. I think as we watched that team, though, as that season went on, no one thought that they were going to a Sweet 16. We thought maybe if those two guys kind of clicked at the same time, maybe they could, and it just never happened. Doesn't mean I'm not going to root for them in the NBA, though. So very cool to see former Illini having success. And as we all know, Ayo Dosunmu has been awesome. And I'm praying that he is on a, he has huge playoff moments with the Timberwolves. So like the entire country and world can see just how good of a player he is. So now that we're 6 minutes into the show and I haven't even mentioned anything about Michigan State, we can do that. Saturday night, let's set the stage. Saturday night, Illinois at Michigan State, crazy crowd at Breslin Center, all that stuff. I couldn't do anything Saturday without I couldn't do anything Saturday night. I had to watch this game. I had friends who wanted me to go to some magic show at the Speakeasy a couple blocks from me, and I told them, like, Illinois is on. I have to watch this game. And basically, I would say that the experience was a sweat. The experience was a sweat. There was nothing about that game that was fun other than you'll love to see the grit. You'll love to see the fight. You'll love to see this team, despite all the things that went wrong for them in it, continue to battle, continue to not let one play just kind of bend them and break them apart. They were in it until the very end. And I don't know, as a team that just won 12 straight games before this, I guess I'm personally, of course, this is 2 days after the fact. Like, I'm not as mad as I think a lot of fans were. Now, on Saturday, I was upset because I felt like Illinois gave the game away in many ways. Illinois had a shot to close that game out in regulation, and they just didn't. I think a lot of fans thought the refs were the refs at Breslin Center, and I do think the refs weren't good in the last 5 minutes of the game. The final foul on Tomislav Ivicic in overtime was probably the worst call of the night. Didn't even touch Fears. Fears flopped, whatever you want to call it. It was just disgusting. And he did a lot of that all night. He's really good at baiting people into fouls. And whether you want to call that good or a skill or whatever, like, listen, I don't watch a lot of NBA basketball as much as I did when I was younger, but guys are doing that in the NBA now, and I think there is some kind of skill to getting that. I think it from an opposing side of it's incredibly annoying, and I feel like the refs aren't helping when they're giving him a call every single time it happens, especially in that overtime when every possession is so crucial. But it's not like it only happened in the final 5 minutes of the game. Fears had a great game, and I think you just got to tip your cap to him. He literally willed Michigan State to the win. To me, the reason Illinois lost this game, if we want to get into takeaways, my three biggest takeaways from this game to why Illinois lost, I would say Keaton Wagler having the game that he had, 2 of 16, most of his points. I think he scored 16, but most of them came from the free throw line. He did hit that three that then almost caused some chaos and at the very final seconds of the game and in overtime. To me personally, he should have taken that shot, or if he was going to pass it to Jake Davis, he should have came back up and got the ball and then taken the shot. Maybe Jake Davis should have shot that three instead of Zvonimir Ivicic. The way that all played out, everything happened so quickly, and you got no timeouts. I don't think they did, at least, and it just Michigan State tried to give you the game, or at least tie it, and go to another overtime. I felt like Wagler needed to come back and get that ball. I don't care if he's 0 for 20. He's the one who should be shooting that shot. That is the kind of guy he's been for Illinois this year. He's got to be the one taking that shot. So overall, Wagler had a terrible game shooting wise. I can't sit here and say he didn't get calls. There were a few times he went to the basket where I felt like he should have got a call, considering some of the calls Fears got where he was barely touched. But at the same time, he went to the free throw line he shot 12 free throws. You know what I mean? So it's like, how much can I complain about Wagler not getting certain calls? I think he got plenty of calls. But again, 2 of 16, 2 of 8 from 3. Just not going to get it done. 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He had 3 turnovers. This is what happens when you put yourself into national attention and you start climbing draft boards. After the game, I'm seeing so many tweets from Michigan State fans calling Wagler overrated. And it's just like, do you not know this guy's story? Do you not know this guy's story about how the fact that he was recruited by what? 2 or 3, you want to, I keep forgetting what it is, but let's just call it 3. 3 high major programs. Bill Self let this guy get out of the state of Kansas. This guy put up 46 at Mackey, put up 28, 23 in the second half at Nebraska, a top 10 team. The Michigan State fans that were doing that, it's either rage bait or whatever. They're just trolling because they won. Like, that probably is mostly it, but I think that there are actual people who believe that now after that one game. And that's what happens when you get put in the national spotlight because you've been having so many great games. And this was for sure his worst game. Maybe that game against UConn, he wasn't very good in that game either. I thought Michigan State did as well as they could have to keep him from not getting hot. Obviously couldn't make any shots. I think you can make an argument that he should have got a few more calls on some of those drives to the rim when you look at some of the calls that Fears got when he went to the rim and barely got touched. I think that's a fair thing to say. If a Michigan State fan is hate watching this right now, I think that's a fair thing to say that maybe Wagler should have got a few more calls if Fears was going to get as many calls as he did in the paint, considering the few times he, barely got touched and got called for a foul. I mentioned the one about Ivisic on the 5th foul. That shouldn't have been a foul. The very next defensive possession for Illinois, Fears made a basket, but it shouldn't have been an and one. I think the foul was called on Stojakovic. This should not have been a foul. This is just soft. And to me, the way the refs called the game, the last 5 minutes, aka the overtime, was completely different compared to the first 40 minutes. And I think some fans might not agree or believe that because it felt like the refs were against Illinois all night. But when you look at the numbers, Illinois shot 24 free throws, Michigan State shot 23. Now, Illinois is one of the lowest fouling teams in the country. So I guess I can sit here and make an argument that Michigan State shouldn't have gone to the free throw line as many times as they did. But you're on the road in the Big Ten. How many times are we going to do this, man? How many times are we going to do this? I did this in my video. I did this in my video post game that I posted. I'm so sick and tired of high knees. I'm so sick and tired of high knees. All right. But again, I can sit here and complain about those guys and this and that and this and that, all these little things. The refs are not the reason Illinois lost the game. They played an impact in Illinois losing this game, but Illinois lost this game. Davi Mirkovic, the freaking lane violation sits in my head rent-free. That can't happen. The last 3 minutes of that game, Illinois just did not execute. I mean, the offensive rebound they gave up to allow Michigan State to get that 3 off in the final seconds of regulation, and again, if I'm going to sit here and nitpick about the refs, we got to give them credit too, because Mirkovic on the being active on the boards and that final possession in regulation, getting the ball somehow, getting the ball to Jake Davis on the ricochet, and he puts it up, and the refs bail Illinois out and give him the opportunity to tie the game. Now, Jake Davis had to make those free throws, and he did. And it was some of the most clutch shit that I've ever seen. I feel incredible about Jake Davis in clutch moments, man. This guy's got ice in his veins. But that was a moment where things did go, like the refs did give Illinois, a bone, And again, Wagler shot 12 free throws. So I just think about that last 3 minutes of the first half or the second half, man. I really do. And what was the score, man? I'm bringing it up on ESPN now. The score was at the 3-minute mark. 309. At 309, there's a foul on Big T on Jeremy Fears. And I don't remember this particular play, but at the time, Illinois was up by 4. With 3 minutes and 9 seconds to go, Illinois is up 4. I know a lot of things can change in a 4-point game, but I just feel like they didn't do the little things that they had done in that 12-game winning streak that allowed Michigan State to not only tie, but take the lead. And luckily, Illinois getting a couple free throws to tie the game to go overtime happened. That there was a layup in that final couple minutes where Fears got to the basket so easily. Like, not a foul or anything, just bad defense. They couldn't get anything going offensively with Wagler to kind of close it out. Mirkovic, they were down 1 in the final minute, and Mirk made a layup to take the lead, make it 69-68. But that 3 by Tang with 8 seconds, it was brutal, man. It was brutal. And not only was the first shot lucky because he was wide open, you can't get the offensive, or you can't get the defensive rebound. And I just, in a road environment like that, you got to be able to secure that rebound. And so when Brad Underwood is in the postgame and talking about the little things, I do agree with him on that, on most of it. Now, as far as things like, if I want to sit here and criticize Brad Underwood, one thing that I would say, and maybe they will implement this moving forward, because this was Wagler's first bad game since, like I said, since the UConn game. Maybe they should have got Wagler off the ball and try and get him open to then create off ball screens or something like that. He had the ball the entire time. He'd bring the ball up, they'd run pick and roll and play off that the entire game with him. And I feel like because he was struggling to make shots, perhaps get him off the ball. I mean, Merck was playing point forward a lot in the second half, especially. And, I feel like maybe that's one way that could have helped Wagler get going. He just couldn't make any outside shots. But again, I do think that he did make some aggressive plays at the basket that allowed him to score some points at free throw line, but it just wasn't enough. And when you go on the road, you need your best players to show up. I'm not saying that he didn't show up. It's not like it was a bad game shooting wise, but I wouldn't say that he was the sole reason they lost, but he was a big part of why they lost. So my biggest takeaway for sure on this loss is just him having a bad shooting night. My second biggest takeaway, I believe they lost on the rebounding margin. I believe that they did. And Illinois is one of the best rebounding teams in the country. Yeah, they lost 48-38 on the rebounding margin. They just can't do that, man. You especially on the road. You got to rebound. You got to rebound. And freaking Brad Underwood emphasizes rebounding so much that there's a reason they're one of the best rebounding teams in the country. But yeah, that to me, rebounding was a big thing. on why they lost this game. My third takeaway is that this team is not better without Kylan Boswell. And I thought that before this game, but this game just kind of emphasized it. I feel like if they had Kylan Boswell in this game, they would have closed it out, because Kylan Boswell in certain games, in the early part of Big Ten season, especially, Kylan Boswell would refuse to let Illinois lose some of these close matchups that they had against certain teams. And they were on the road too. And so his leadership and his defense, especially, the missing it showed in this game. Do you think Jeremy Fears would have gone 26-15 with Kylan Boswell on him? I don't think so. The reason Illinois was able to beat Purdue was largely because Keaton Wagler went 46 points and was like 9 of 11 from 3. That was a massive part in why they won that game. But he was the guy. He was the one who went and, got those big buckets when you needed, but also Big T hit a big shot at the end of the game. Jake Davis hit a big shot at the end of that game. He actually had a decent game there, right? They had guys who stepped up at the end when they needed it. Then at Nebraska, Wagler had a quiet first half with 5 points, but everyone else showed up. Merck, the Ivasic twins, Davis hit shots in that game, and Stojakovic had a good game, I believe, in that game. And then Wagler showed up in the second half and scored 23 points, and the rest of the guys joined in, and that's why they ended up winning by 9 or 10 points, whatever it was. I think it might have been 11. So everyone showed up in that game, and that's why they won. This particular game, you can't say that not everyone showed up. Merck, I thought, had the best game. Stojakovic had a great game. Those two guys, Merck, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and Stojakovic, 17 and 7. Those were your two best offensive contributors on the court for sure. Big T, 12 points, only 2 rebounds. Look, he scored some points, but he just nothing on the rebounding front. His brother was better on the rebounding front, but couldn't make a shot, and that's why he really wasn't in the game at the crucial moments down the stretch. 8 rebounds, but 2 of 8 from the field. Kind of had played a decent part in the first half, but in terms of impacting the game, but not much in the second half. Davis, 6 points on 1 of 5 from 3, but those 2 free throws were huge, so I'm not going to put too much on. But the point is the reason that they won those 2 games at Purdue and Nebraska was that Wagler was able to, I don't want to say outperform what everyone thought, but he just had huge games, and 16 points on 2 of 16 is just not going to get it done. But also, you didn't have your other big time leader or scorer that you have who can, get to the basket because they're just bigger than you, in Kylan Boswell. And on top of the fact that he is your best defender, far and away your best defender. So with that said, I did see a video on Twitter today, Brad Underwood, saying that Kylan Boswell did practice today, but he doesn't think he's going to play against Wisconsin. So it's good to see that he's practicing. Hopefully he might be able to play against Indiana this Saturday. I think Illinois will be fine without Boswell against Wisconsin. But yeah, so my big 3 takeaways: Wagler, just, I don't want to say Illinois goes as he goes, but he is just his scoring, his production is so important to this team's success. And it just wasn't enough, especially when you're already down one of your best players. The rebounding wasn't good enough, -10 on the rebounding, and then not having Kylan Boswell. This team is just so much better with Kylan Boswell on it, and I don't think that's really an argument anymore. So those are my big 3 takeaways. Now, as far as how this team can bounce back, we can talk about that here in a second. I want to go through the chat real quick. Shout out to the people here. We got a small crowd, 8 live viewers right now. Let's go. If you can hit the like button, I'd appreciate you. Subscribe if you're new here. like less than 50 subs away from 1,000. So would appreciate it. Uncle Phil Cows, what a name, says Illinois couldn't shoot much worse and still went to OT. And I agree. Like, that's why I don't come away from this game like, like the sky is falling. To me, like, I think Illinois will learn from this game. I think that this team, it's not soul searching, but it's one of those, like, you take things you can take away positively. I don't want to call it a moral victory, but I mean, this team won 12 games in a row. You think they're going to win every game the rest of the season? I don't think so. So to go into Breslin without Kyle and Boswell, 3 straight weekends where you played a top 10 team in the country, and to take 2 out of the 3, whenever Boswell went down before they'd even played Purdue, I was hoping to win 1 personally. I mean, you go watch the show, you go watch the pod. I was like freaking out. I was like, no Boswell, like, how is this team going to close games out? And 2 of the 3 they did close out. So the fact that they didn't shoot well, the fact that Wagler didn't have a good game, and it still went to overtime. You're on the road against a Michigan State team that was, like, let's be honest about it, they needed the game more. I don't know how you're an Illini fan and come away from this game feeling terrible outside of just you're pissed off about losing to Michigan State, because I think was it like 4 straight losses to Michigan State? And the last 3 losses to Michigan State have just been absolutely brutal. This game, the Terrence Shannon jersey retirement last year at State Farm, and then the Jacashonis, 5 fouls in 12 minutes or whatever it was last year at Breslin. The last 3 games against Michigan State have just been so agonizing. When they beat Michigan State, because it will inevitably happen at some point, the next time they beat them, I will be completely, let me emphasize that, completely insufferable about it. I will truly treat it like it's my Super Bowl. I promise you. All right. Unfortunately, I think they only play them 1 time this year. So if we see them, it'd be the Big Ten tournament, maybe the NCAA tournament. I hope we don't see them in the NCAA tournament. The way that they play and everything kind of benefits like if you're a tournament team, because their defense is so good. Maybe they won't get as many calls on a neutral court. Maybe Illinois would benefit playing Michigan State. The anxiety going into a game like that would just be not fun. So whatever, we'll see what happens. Anyway, yeah, we're reading comments here. So shout out to Uncle Phil Cows. I appreciate you. Let's see. Lazy Force Gump. I'll take the over for Keaton next game. He was 1 of 9 from 3 the game before Purdue. Ooh, I like that. I didn't realize that. Yeah, Keaton again. We'll talk about Keaton going up against Wisconsin, and obviously Wisconsin's defense not nearly as good as Michigan State. We're looking forward to a nice bounce back from him. Uncle Phil Cows also says MSU played an A+ game. Illinois played a C+. I could agree with that. Michigan State played as well as they possibly could, right? Like they did. I think they did all the little things better than Illinois, especially down the stretch. They got the offensive rebounds. They obviously play hard, and their defense is good. Like, they did all those things. I just don't know how that team is going to do much in March when Fears has to score for them and like a lot for them to have success. They weren't playing well going to that game. They got upset by Minnesota on the road. I think I don't think they're terrible. They're obviously not good. They're kind of one of those frisky teams. It's the way I've been describing them. But either way, they were 8.5-point favorites on the road. They lost outright. They lost to Michigan at home. We know what Michigan is. That game coming up on the 27th is circled on all of our calendars. We're going to see how this team matches up against them. Marez Johnson revenge game. I hope not. And then before that, they went to overtime against Rutgers. So maybe they got their mojo back against Illinois, considering they went to overtime and they played as well as they could have, and they desperately needed that game more than Illinois needed the game. I think Illinois still solidly and at a 2 seed right now, and they still control their destiny in the Big Ten regular season title race. So, you know, you want to call it a cope? Sure, go ahead, call it a cope. The point is the season's not over. There's still plenty to play for here, and we'll see what happens. So, Uncle Phil Cal says Illinois favored against Wisconsin by 11.5 points. Illinois wins by 25. I don't know if Illinois is going to win by 25. If they do, that'd be awesome because I love beating Greg Gard and I love beating Wisconsin because I could go on my tangent about how Greg Gard has way too many Coach of the Years in the Big Ten and Brad Underwood doesn't even have one. Right. And the only reason Greg Gard has got some over the years is because his team completely surprises everyone and exceeds expectations. And Brad Underwood has more wins in the Big Ten the last 6 years or whatever it is, and can't sniff a Coach of the Year because he's just expected to do this. Make that make sense. I could do that. I just did the tangent. I went on the tangent. But 11.5. Wisconsin coming off that loss to Indiana. If you didn't watch that game on Saturday, you want to talk about a team that got screwed by the refs. Wisconsin got screwed by the refs. That was, if you watch the final minute, that was not a offensive foul, in my opinion. Or to me, that's a no call. You should not be calling that in the final seconds. You got to let the teams play it out. And then just to make matters worse, they called a foul on the final possession and let Wilkerson shoot free throws with 2 seconds left. Just absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible to decide the game. At least when they called the foul for Jake Davis, Illinois was down 2. So if he made both of them, they were at worst, or at best, I should say, at best they were going to overtime. Just some of the worst officiating I've ever seen in the Big Ten in that Wisconsin-Indiana game at the end, at least. Wisconsin did cover 4, so shout out to them for that. Now, Wisconsin, 11.5 point dogs on the road at Illinois. Listen, you can't sleep on this Wisconsin team. They did go to Michigan and win. However, they hit 18 threes. I want to say they hit 18 threes against Michigan that day. Michigan was able to score a ton of points, though. I mean, that was like Wisconsin won like 91-88 or something like that. I think that's what the final score was. So this Wisconsin defense, I do think they played well against Indiana, but I also don't think Indiana is nearly as good offensively as Illinois is. So I'm looking forward to the Keaton Wagler bounce back. And then also I'd like to see more of Merck in the point forward, like kind of really dictating things. The way Merck did what he did in that second half, especially bringing the ball up the court and kind of doing what he does as a former point guard who just grew taller. I am very interested to see how much more they continue to do that. I know they're doing a lot of it because Boswell's out, but I honestly don't hate it in general. Like, he had an incredible game against Michigan State. And the only reason I say this is because I don't think anyone on Wisconsin can guard Merck. Like, they're bigs. They can shoot the 3. Are they as physical as some of the Michigan State bigs? I don't think so. Some of those Wisconsin bigs can shoot the 3. And if they start hitting threes, I think Illinois will be able to at least guard better than Michigan did in that one particular game against them. Because I think Illinois' bigs are they can move better than some bigs. That's just how I feel. But I think Merck is due for back-to-back really good games, and I think Wagler will bounce back. That's where I'm at. All right. Uncle Phil's in the chat says no haircuts. Yeah, that's true. No haircuts. Why did Keaton get a haircut, brother? No haircuts. Does look nice, though. I'll give him that. I don't know, man. I think against Wisconsin, Illinois should be able to get as many points as they want against them. Like, I've watched them enough, and their defense is just meh. I can bring up their defensive rating on KenPom real quick. But I also I haven't mentioned this yet, but Brad Underwood off a loss, man. Brad Underwood off a loss is great. All right. Illinois number 4 on KenPom today, which is actually hilarious considering I think they were lower before that game against Michigan State. Number 1 offensive rating in college basketball still. Number 21 in defensive rating. Where is Wisconsin? Control F. Wisconsin. Why are you not showing up? Okay. Bad audio. There you are. They're 40th in KenPom, 38th in offense rating, and then they're 60th in defensive rating. Just behind UCLA, actually, who Illinois is going to play here in not this week, but the week after. So that's a lot different than playing Michigan State's defense. So I think this offense is going to bounce back a little bit against Wisconsin at home. We need the orange crush. We need the crowd to, I don't want to be that guy who comes on here and says that the environment at the State Farm Center hasn't been good. I haven't been there. I have not been there this year. Maybe it's the mics at State Farm, whoever's, whether it's the Big Ten Network or Fox or whatever. I'm not feeling the same energy out of State Farm through the TV that I feel like I'm always feeling. But at the same time, like they haven't had any like big time matchups at State Farm this year, right? Like their 2 biggest Big Ten matchups this year have been on the road at Purdue, at Nebraska. Like to me, this is like one of their first like at State Farm Center big time matchups against Wisconsin, because I think Wisconsin's a tournament team, so this should be a good game. I personally 11.5. I lean Wisconsin because that's a lot of points, and I just think that they're a fine team. They're a fine team. But the big key, if Illinois is going to cover 11.5, they're not only do they have to defend like they have been, even without Boswell, but Wisconsin's got to not make threes. If Wisconsin makes threes, this is going to be a close game. They did not make threes against Indiana, but was in that game, made a huge comeback against Indiana because Indiana's offense completely fell apart. They tried to choke the game away like they did against Nebraska. But Illinois is not Indiana, though. So they are significantly better. So I can see why it's 11.5, but I am weary a little bit of how this team will be coming off the loss. That doesn't mean I don't think they'll win. 11.5 is just a large number. So we'll see. Illinois should roll. I think that their bigs are better. I think they're more physical. And the Illinois' guards are better. Blackwell is an annoyance, though. He is kind of their alpha. And then the other guard that they have, the lefty, I'm blanking on his name. I want to say his last name is Pope, but it's not Pope. It's bothering me now. Nick Boyd, averaging 20 points a game. All right. Blackwell's averaging 18.9. So, I'm looking for that bounce back from Wagler. Who's going to join him? I think Merck is in for another good game because he's played well without Boswell. Davis, I think he's going to hit a few more shots. Would love to see Humrickhouse and Big Z contribute more offensively. I think Humrickhouse has had just quietly a really nice season for the expectations for him. So I would like to see more from the bench. Without Boswell, they've basically been playing 7 guys. Petrovic has gotten in there every now and then. But, yeah, Brandon Lee went in there the other night to foul. But, yeah, it's you basically see who Brad's going to go with. So, yeah, I think the key is slowing down Blackwell and Boyd. And Blackwell had a bad first half at Indiana, had a better second half, and that was why they made the comeback. So if you're able to at least slow one of those guys down, you should be okay. If you're able to slow one of those guys down for all 40 minutes, you should be okay. And their bigs, they're going to run that pick and pop, and they're going to try and shoot a bunch of threes with them. Gotta cover quick, and you got to rebound. So So obviously Wisconsin is next, but you got Indiana on Saturday, and then you go on the road to the West Coast, USC and UCLA. I tweeted this the other day. I want to say on Sunday, the day after the loss. I'm asking for 3-1 before this Michigan game. I'm asking for 3-1. They could easily go 4-0, but it's going to be tough to go to the other side of the country and win both games at USC and at UCLA. That's going to be tough. The UCLA game scares me, and it's technically a trap game because you come home and play Michigan after. So I think there's no excuse to lose against Wisconsin and Indiana. They will be tough games because Wisconsin is, to me, a tournament team. Indiana is a bubble team, but I don't care what IU fans say. It's a rivalry. They can kick rocks for all I care if they don't want to call it a rivalry. It's a rivalry. So they'll give you their best effort. And then just the travel and USC, I think they're in the same realm as Wisconsin. Am I wrong to say that? Maybe they're more on the realm of Indiana. I don't know. But either way, they're it's not like you're going on the road to face Penn State or Minnesota or Rutgers. Like these are all four of these teams are formidable. They are teams that you can't sleep on. So that game against UCLA, I am worried about because it is technically a trap game going to that Michigan game. Would love to go 4-0. Would love to go 4-0. I'm asking for 3-1. I don't know. I'm more fearful of UCLA, but because of the travel and everything, I could see them losing to USC too. So maybe they lose USC and bounce back against UCLA, go into that Michigan game with some momentum. But this team's so good, man. Maybe they just go 4-0 and make it 5 straight wins when they beat Michigan on 27th. It's going to be an incredible game. The tickets for the Michigan game are insane, man. Just ridiculous. So if anyone has a ticket for Michigan and you want to give it away, let me know. Let me know. Uncle Phil's in the chat says 6 days between UCLA and Michigan games helps. That is true. That is true. Also, if they lose to UCLA and then they don't play for 6 days, how miserable are we going to be for those 6 days? If you told me they had to lose a game, maybe I should just hope for a loss against USC out of those 4 games. But again, we obviously want to win all these games. So Uncle Phil also says Oregon covers 10.5 at Indiana tonight. Nate Biddle is back. I took Oregon to cover the 10.5 too. They almost beat Purdue the other day. Almost beat Purdue with Biddle back. Obviously, I'm blanking on his name, but one of their other better players is out for the year. But they definitely, to go into Mackey and play as good as they did on, they've lost 9 straight games. Also, Indiana is just not good enough to be a 10.5 point favorite. If they cover 10.5 tonight, I'm just not going to understand. I will live and die with bald spot Nate Biddle tonight, my friends. All right. I've yapped enough. It's been 45 minutes. I hope you all have a good rest of your night. Follow me on Twitter at Cody_Illini. Won't do a show right after the game tomorrow, but I will be posting a post-game video. The last video is the longest. It was like 6 minutes long. And, of course, I'll be tweeting throughout the game and stuff. As you all know, I'm working 2 jobs right now, plus doing my Cubs podcast. I want to put everything I can into this when I can. It's just been tough this year, which sucks because this team is awesome. But I've been managing to come on here for at least once a week and yap it up with you guys. So, yeah, follow me on Twitter at Cody_Illini. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers. That's maybe before the end of the season. That'd be sick. But if you don't follow me there and you want to talk more Illini with me, maybe you should. So I appreciate you guys' support. Hit the like button on your way out. And like I said, subscribe if you're new here. Let's beat Wisconsin. Bounce back. Big game from Keaton tomorrow. That's what we're looking for here. All right. You all have a good rest of your night. Oregon plus 10.5. Tail me and Uncle Phil's cows. All right. Y'all have a good night. ILL. Love you guys.